morning, everyone, and welcome to this yearly edition of What's New 2020 for SOLIDWORKS Data Management. Um, I hope everybody is doing good. We have some great content for you, so without further ado, let's jump right away in our program today. Let's see, what do we have? On the menu this morning, we will start with a quick overview of the system requirements changes for 2020. It's always a good thing to know if our current infrastructure can handle this new version, but also some upcoming end-of-life announcement that will help us prepare for future versions. We will then talk about the PDM features like child reference state condition and the new quick search. So those are our new feature this year. And then followed by our PDM enhancement, some of the new tabs in Web 2, as well as some great performance enhancement. And then to cap this off, I'll talk a bit about SOLIDWORKS Manage. It has seen a ton of development this year, so I'll give you my top 5 feature for 2020. All right, system requirement changes. So with every new version of PDM and Manage, with the evolution, things needs to be upgraded. So this year, you can see on the right table, there's the Windows Server 2012 R2 that is no longer supported for 2020. So if your PDM or Manage are running on that Windows Server, this will need an upgrade for 2020. Another one about Windows on the upper table is your Windows 7 end-of-life announcement for 2020 SP5. Unfortunately, this will be your last year with the good old Windows 7 if you're still rocking that. Then there's two other announcements on SQL. SQL 2014 on the bottom table. First thing is it needs to run with the Service Pack 3 this year. So if you don't have the Service Pack 3, it's pretty easy download, quick download and upgrade from the Microsoft website. As always, I'll tell you to back up your database before doing any upgrades, but this is very simple to do. The other one is the announcement of the end of life for 2014 that is planned for the end of 2021. And this is the big one. Let me show you a couple of things. So on top of the end of life announcement, SOLIDWORKS announced this fall that SQL is now unbundled from the Editor, Contributor, and Viewer PDM license. PSLs are now called universal licenses. So even if the end of life is still far away, we're talking about 2 years, we want to make sure that you guys are aware of these changes to, better prepare for the next release. And here's what you need to know about these changes. So if you have right now an existing PDM system, your SQL license are supported until the end of 2021. So there's no action required at all. If you need to add PDM licenses to your existing pool of license, you can purchase additional 2014 CAL licenses from us or from Microsoft. And depending on the situation, you might want to consider upgrading all your SQL licenses to the most current SQL version. So you're not tied anymore to what was coming with your PDM licenses or your managed licenses. And if you're purchasing PDM or Manage for the first time, you will want to consider purchasing the most recent or the most current SQL licenses, which is 2019 that just came out. And ultimately, the timing of upgrading SQL Server will be the key here. There are many benefits to newer version of SQL. So if you're adding license, if you're purchasing Manage, you might want to look into upgrading all your SQL Server to the newer version. Things like improved performance with PDM and Manage. You have access to more cores on your server with the newer version of SQL. It's supported for cloud deployment. You have access to software assurance, and ultimately you have a longer supported version of SQL to run on. So those are all great things to consider when thinking about those changes. Our team at Hawkridge here can help you navigate these changes. So if you're confused about these, if you have any question, please make sure to contact us. We'll help you make the best decision and help you navigate these. Yeah, so that's that. No, that was a lot of me talking and talking about the changes. I think we're ready to look at some new features. I'm pretty sure that's why you're here. So let's start with this first feature that is, in my opinion, has been a long time coming. So this is something I've heard from many customers, and it's now here, the child reference state condition. So it will now allow you to make sure that the immediate child of, let's say, an assembly are going in the right state or are in the right state before approving that, or while approving that assembly. So it really prevent from releasing, let's say, an assembly that all components are not ready for it. So that's, and just to recap, it's for immediate child reference. The child can be in the destination state, or it can go with the parent, and it can also be just a warning, right? So it can still work just like it was working, but giving you a warning that not all the child items are in the correct state. And then a little bonus here, just on the transition, we now have in 2020 a warning for unselected dynamic notification. So if you didn't select anybody in the notification, it will notify you. So let's go take a look here. I have a little set of files here for demonstrating this. So I get a little assembly that is in review. I got some couple of parts, some are under editing, review, and approve. I'll show you my workflow here. It's a pretty simple one. So as you can see, my initial state is under editing. This file is, and then I have my assembly in review. I have, and then I have my approved state where I have a file in here. So in maybe before I add the condition, I can show you that right now without any condition, if I right click, I change the state on my assembly, it will allow me to go and change the state of that assembly, letting me know that those files are in different state, but just warning, and then I can go on with this change. Now, if I decide to put some conditions in here, here's the new feature for 2020. In a transition, under condition, you now have this new child reference state here. You have three operators: text equal, text not equal, and text compare. And then it will recognize, your workflow and the states in those workflows. So it will populate the drop down automatically. So I can right away select, the state that I want the files to be in or to go to with the parent, which is my approved state here. So I'll put that condition in. Don't forget to save your workflow if you want those changes to apply. You might remember that from the admin class. And then if I now try to change the state on this assembly here, I will have basically a stop. I mean, I won't be able to transition the parent because not this guy here, which is a different state. This 77 isn't approved, that's fine, but it's mainly this 75 in editing that prevents me from going further. So that's nice. It will not allow me to go. So in order to transition this assembly, I will have to submit this part for an approval. And you see, if I don't select any people to get notified, I will have my warning that I told you about. This is a new feature for 2020 again. You have a warning if you're not selecting a notification, a dynamic notification here. So I'll go ahead, and now all those are in review plus my approved. So now I should be able to change the state and pass the approval on that main assembly. It lets me do it. A good feature to notice is if I uncheck one of these files to not be transitioned with it, it will actually right away prevent the action from happening. So it's live evaluating if the components are going to go with it or not. So that's really nice. The other thing here that I want to point out is that, like I said, it can be only it can only be a warning. So in the user or the group interface, I can go ahead and under the warning tab here, uncheck this child reference does not meet state condition. So now it's going to be just a warning. By doing that here, it will instead of preventing it, it will just be a warning. So you can see that if I uncheck, now it's not preventing it, but it's giving me a warning. So you can have it behave the same way that it was before and with just a warning, or you can prevent it altogether from happening by blocking it. And yeah, and that's for our events conditions here, or child reference state condition. Another new feature in PDM 2020 that I really like is this new quick search. So I've done a blog a while ago on PDM searches, and the most recurring comment has always been that if I just want to do a quick search, why can't I just do a Control F? And you know what? It's here. So this year you have in your UI, in your user interface in Windows Explorer, a quick search that you can just trigger with a Control F command or on your keyboard, and it'll basically start that search. You can type in it, you can search for different things. I'll show you that, but it also comes with a new quick search column set for your results. You can reorder those search columns. There's wildcards now that you can put in there, and as well as your search cards, the and or not, the or. So those are really speeding up our searches. And then there's also a new multi-variable edit box for search card that I'll show you. Another little bonus here, the log off for a user in the Explorer interface is right beside the search. So now it's not in your tray, it's beside the search, and that's really convenient. So I'm going to use the same set here to just start playing with that quick search here that is right here. So just going Control F, I can start my search and start inputting information here. So you can see that if I use a drop down here, I can search for different things. I can search for file and folder name that comes with by default, as well as the search in, current folder, all folders and subfolders. What does not come as default is the variables that you can search in. You can add up to 5 variables to search in that quick search. So not only it will search in the file and folder names, but it will search in the specific what you specify as far as variables to search in. In order to add to these variables, there's a new list in the admin tool right here under the list. And before you only had the card list, now you have the quick search variable list. Created one for the what's new here, where I put my description and material. So if I want to add another one here, all I have to do is add one, and I can add up to 5. And let's say I'm going to go and add, I don't know, check by, just for fun, and then go see in my quick search. One of the things, in order to see this one coming up, I need to log off, which is great because that makes me that allows me to show you this log off as an on the right side here. So before you had to go in your tray here to log off, still there, but now you can log off from here right away. Pretty slick. So I'll come back to this vault, log back in. I should have my variable in my search added in here. So if I use a drop down, you can see I have my check by, so I can add those variables, and now I can start searching. So if I look for an end condition, it will look for all my folders, so everything that I set here for all those variables for in all my folders. I can say for latest version or all versions, and I can start using those wildcards. So the great thing too is it will keep 5 searches of my history. So if I want to keep some of my history, I I can reuse what I was what I was using. So basically, I'm demonstrating for you the wildcards, the not, the exclamation mark. So I can look for something that has got wheel but not lower, or vice versa. I can look for lower but not wheel, so I get different results. And as you can see, I have search result just with the file name and description. And again, this is because there's a new thing here in the quick search, a new column set for quick search. So literally before I had my search result and the file list, now I have quick search result where I can, same way I was adding columns in my Explorer or in my search result, I can just add, let's say, my state and add some column for my results. So if I search again, I should have this state right here. And again, now in 2020, you can play with these. You can actually place them the way you want after you have them showing. So that's pretty nice. If I go back here, if I go back here, just show you the N is the above your 7, like that little N sign. The not is the exclamation mark, and then the vertical bar is your OR operator or wildcard in your search. Forgot one thing to show here. One other thing that is added for 2020 is actually in your search card. If we open the good old complete search, you'll see that in any edit box for a search card, I now have this multi-variable checkbox on the upper right side. And if I check this box, I can now include multiple variables for that checkbox, for that edit box. So literally, I can make one box that will search in many variables. Very convenient for a search card. Let's say for manufacturing search card, they only have one box and they enter it and they search multiple variable, including the file name, for example. So it's really, really convenient new feature in 2020 searches. Awesome. So what do we have next? Next is our Web 2 enhancement. So, you know, Web 2 has seen a lot of enhancement in the last couple of years. Last year, the UI was completely redesigned, and this year they just added more functionality. So it's making it really one of the best way to remote access a PDM vault. So whether you are in the field, or you're in the shop, or you're a third party accessing someone else's vault, these enhancements will definitely make you happy. So let's go look at them. I have my local host here for my web server. Hopefully it lets me in. Oh, there you go. So, I mean, if we take a look quickly at our web server, for you guys are not familiar with it, it's a great tool just to browse, you know, the same vault that was looking prior. So let's say I'm going to go in my design, the what's new, I had those files in here. I have a quick search just like I have now in PDM, so I can search those folder, different fields, and then just put my search in here. All those files can be converted to e-drawing, so you have a preview, and those are all features that were there previously from when they redid the UI. It looks exactly the same than 2019. What they did this year is they added the bill of material tab. So this is good stuff. I'll go on an assembly. I'll be more helpful for bill of material, but this is good stuff where you can now have your whole bill of material in here. As well as your history. So those are the two tabs that they added in Web 2 this year, making it even more a complete solution for accessing remotely your PDM vault. All right. So I want to touch base a little bit on the browsing performance enhancement and the SOLIDWORKS PDM add-in. SOLIDWORKS has been working pretty hard on improving the performance, especially for large vault. So they basically did two things: faster database queries, and so prior to 2020, when you add custom columns in Explorer, it actually slows down your browsing. So with faster queries, adding those custom columns is not big an issue anymore. And the other thing that helps a lot is the background loading and incremental loading of the data. So instead of making you wait, it basically loads some data in the background. So you can see here the order that the data is loaded. So all subfolder are in sync. You can browse subfolder while the remaining data loads in the folder. And then in the second order, you have files with standard column that actually load, and eventually your custom columns. So you can add more custom columns and basically have the same browsing speed. So bottom line, it will improve the performance for the folders with large number of files and for database that's got high latency. And as far as the PDM add-in inside of SOLIDWORKS, the same thing. They basically have the three pane refresh faster because of the background download of the data. And then also when you select a file, they eliminated the calls to the database, so that makes it faster as well. Alrighty, so SOLIDWORKS Manage. So still, I mean, still SOLIDWORKS Manage is one of the best enhancement for PDM, right? It's still pretty new in the data management family. So for those of you who are not familiar with SOLIDWORKS Manage, it extends the PDM functionality to more of an item-based solution. And it advances the PDM capability in areas like the bill of material, the complex processes, the project management. You can do dashboarding or high-level view of your data. You can assign tasks, and then it's really good for reporting, creating custom reports. So those are all great things that Manage does. SOLIDWORKS is working really hard on this. There's a tremendous amount of work actually that they've done this year. So what I've decided to do is present to you my top 5 for 2020. So, so first, let's go look at it. The dashboard viewer. So prior to 2020, the dashboard is in SOLIDWORKS Manage, the full solution. So basically, if I'm in SOLIDWORKS Manage, I go on Home and I look at my dashboard. So what they did this year is you have a separate window and separate instance of just the dashboard. So I can actually display that dashboard on its own, not in the full managed solution. There's a couple of cool things here is I can have multiple dashboards, so I can set it up to show different dashboard, and I can also set a automatic refresh. A couple of ways it can be used. I mean, if you want to display that in the shop or on a monitor, you can have a really cool dashboard showing some information that are relevant for anybody or everybody to see. It's also really good for managers that just want to have a high-level view of, entering change or project or whatnot, and they can just open that without opening the whole full managed solution and have an overview of what's going on. So this is one of my top feature for this year for sure. As a side note, I didn't put that as my favorite features, but there's also a standalone administration tool. So prior to 2020, you also had to go in SOLIDWORKS Manage, go in Option, and open your administration option. Now for an admin, you can just go in this system administration, just like PDM, and only work on the admin feature, kind of a standalone program, just like the dashboard report. Just a side note. The next one is the project Gantt chart. So in Manage, you have great project capabilities. So something that you wouldn't have in PDM. PDM does not do projects at all. So in Manage, you can do Gantt chart, you can do milestones, you can do a lot. And this year, you can now import from Microsoft Project. So for those of you guys that are using Microsoft Project, you can now import those, have the tasking project become stages and manage. So this is a great enhancement here to be able to do that. I know a lot of customers have been asking for that because they're using Microsoft Project. You can now export to an XML as well from Manage, and you can insert the stages. So by insert the stages, I'm just going to show you here on a quick project planning here for this one here. So prior to 2020, if you added a stage to a project, you had to create a new one. It was getting to the bottom, or use some arrows to go up and down. Now you can just drag and drop these, and this is pretty nicely done. I can just grab it and go put it somewhere else. So it's a lot more user friendly to create these. And it also segues into my next top 5 is the capacity planning in Manage. So if you can basically track the capacity of your users, taking account the tasks they have to do, the holidays, those kind of things. So if I go back to where I was here, you can see at the bottom here I have capacity planning, which allows me for a certain project to add the user that are part of that project and see their capacity. I can add specific users from the whole vault or the whole managed environment, allowing me even to get even more nitty-gritty on how much people are doing, how much capacity they have to do more, etc. So great little feature in Manage 2020. Next one in line is the task template. Again, I've talked a little bit about how good it is in Manage to be able to assign tasks. In PDM, you can send notification, but you can't assign tasks. So you rely on notification to let people know that they have to do something. In Manage, you can actually create those tasks, assign them to people. They can see them in an overview of the things they have to do. You can assign times towards it. And again, when you look at your capacity planning, it takes into account those tasks. So going back to Manage here, if I look at my to-do list here of all the tasks, if I want to create a new task, I have this new feature here, which is a template. So in 2019, I would have to create the task from scratch. Every task would be a new task from scratch. But with templates now, I can use an already templated task. So maybe it's cleanup, it's 1 hour allocated, and maybe it's already assigned to someone. I can also go and create a new template task. So I choose a template name, the subject of the task. I can select who I'm assigning this to, the time allocated to it, the task description, maybe some notes, and then that task can be reused as a template for quickly creating tasks. Very, very slick feature, speeding up again the creation of tasks. And then last but not least, I want to talk about the PDM environment and the Manage tab. So now in 2020, you have even more information inside of PDM, allowing the engineer people, the people that are in PDM, maybe not necessarily all the time in Manage, to have access to even more Manage information. So let's go look at it. I have my Manage vault here. I have some files in here. So prior to 2020, all I had was the where use. So I could see where it's used in bombs and processes and projects, and then in the reference document. Now I have a lot more than the where use. I have the properties of my file in Manage, so not just the your data card in PDM, but the properties in Manage. I have the bill of material in Manage, so you can see I have I have some items that are not in PDM. I can see the history in Manage, or what user did what and when, and as well as task and reference here, so I can see the task. So a lot more information available for PDM user coming from Manage, and this is great news. So this is what I had for you guys today. In a nutshell, this is what 2020 has to offer on the data management for you guys. Thank you very much for attending.